It's one of the industry's best gatherings. It's Mountain Connect, and it's coming up in August in downtown Denver. On this episode of Broadband Action, we'll talk with the chief organizer and learn more about this year's agenda, including a few twists. My guest today is Jeff Gavlinski. He is the CEO of Mountain Connect, that very unique and very well attended and quite valuable broadband industry event that's coming up in August. So, Jeff, thanks for coming on Broadband Action to talk about, give us a little sneak preview of what's coming up in August in Denver.
Thanks, Curtis. It's, as always, it's great to be with you, and I really want to say thank you for inviting me on.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Well, Mountain Connect is an event that I haven't attended every year, but when I have attended, I've had an amazing experience, and I'm hoping to get back there this year. Let's just kind of talk about overall what is Mountain Connect, and how you put this thing together.
So this year, I would like to think that Mountain Connect is less about adding content and more about creating outcomes. I think people don't need another event with endless panels. They need conversations that help them move their projects forward. So every major change that I've made this year is designed around action and connection.
I love it. As I'm kind of just showing some of what's on the website, there are a lot of great details on there. So we'd encourage everybody to go to mountainconnect.org. This is this like how many years have you been doing this? I was thinking it was the 10th or the 11th.
It is the 12th, actually.
12th. Okay. Well, I was close, but not quite there.
That's okay.
How did it start, and how has it evolved?
So I actually didn't originally start the conference. It was started by another individual in and around our BTOP grant. Colorado was awarded a BTOP grant to build middle mile to connect all of our school districts with fiber. And I started Colorado's first structured local technology planning team down in the southwest part of the state. I was living in Durango at the time. And so I got invited to the conference, and because I was doing something unique in the state. And I was asked to provide an update of what my regional local technology planning team was doing. And one of the things I noticed was the conference structure was focused on the Western Slope only. So after appearing at the event the second year, I asked the guy who was running it, why just the Western Slope? Why not the whole state and beyond? And he said, well, if you want to expand it, you take it over. And so he handed it to me, and at the time my partner Audrey Danner, and we initially expanded it to include the whole state, and this was in 2014, and then eventually it became regional, and then I would argue the last 4 or 5 years we have moved it nationally. So that's sort of the genesis, and this was all done without ever running a conference before. So there was a lot of what kind of a mess did I get myself into moments, but I think we eventually found our path.
Learning curve is steep.
Yes, sir.
As someone who organizes a much smaller show than you, I can't imagine the many man hours it takes, and the team that you've had to put together to make this all happen. It's a big group.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's a little stressful, but it's a lot of fun, actually, to see it all come together. Planning is one thing, execution is quite another.
Yeah, it certainly is. And sometimes the variables are out of your control, and you just got to try to control what you can to make that event as good as you possibly can. And one thing I think it's important people understand is that although the conference is called Mountain Connect, this is a national show. This is one of the best and premier shows in the country. And I've been to all of them, and I can tell you that a lot of times I get way more out of Mountain Connect than I do the others. No offense to Fiber Broadband Association, no offense to broadband communities, but your show is certainly top notch. And what I really think is cool, Jeff, is you're always tweaking it. You don't just rinse and repeat and do the same conference every year. So let's talk a little bit about some of the innovations that you're bringing to Mountain Connect this year.
Yeah, so let me start with an easy place to start, which is content. So I would argue that we've led all bead conversations the past 4 years, and now I think we've come to a pivot point. So now the industry must answer, what comes next. And so in my mind, this is focused content around deployment, operations, future demand, AI and emerging applications, sustainable business models, and better long-term infrastructure decisions.
Mm.
So in my mind, this is content evolution, and that's where we're at this year.
And your
What,
content
what
evolution has led to the evolution of the event.
yeah, well, they've kind of worked in parallel, but I think it's time for a change. It's not to say that we won't have beat content on the agenda, because we will. It's still very prominent, but I think
Yep.
I think a pivot's required. So, and that's exactly what we're doing.
I would agree with you there. As somebody who's been to a few shows, you almost get beat overload. And if that's all anybody's talking about at a show, and you're not
Right.
involved in bead, you're like many small providers who didn't participate in bead because of the red tape. Then there's nothing there for you. That's
Right.
when you
Right.
spend all your whole day on the exhibit floor trying to make something out of your week. One of the things that you're doing that is new, as far as I know about in the broadband industry, uh, is called your hosted buyer program. So let's kind of drill into that, because I think that is some real secret sauce here that people need to be aware of.
Well, the intent behind this is, I believe my hosted buyer program um, is and was created because great meetings shouldn't happen by accident.
Mm,
So we're bringing buyers and builders together intentionally. So the hosted buyers are ISPs actively planning, building, and buying, and hosted buyer sponsors are companies helping make those projects successful. So through the program, we will provide structured introductions, qualified and curated conversations, and probably more importantly, better use of time. And if someone were to ask me, why should an ISP care about the hosted buyer program, I would answer, because time is limited. If you're making decisions within the next 3 to 12 months, we want to help you spend time, with people who can actually help move these decisions forward and help you grow.
so how does it work? Have you been out reaching out to the sponsors and trying to, you're playing a little matchmaking here, aren't you?
Yeah, well, so I'm doing two things. One, I'm trying to find, the whole this hosted buyer program will not be successful if it's not riddled with quality. So
Mm,
quality on the hosted buyer sponsor side, and quality on the ISP side. And that means, we're looking for companies on the sponsorship side that provide a national footprint, so they can work in any state. I mean, right now,
hmm.
I have ISPs that represent 18 states. And when I'm done, I would not be surprised to learn that we have ISPs from 40 states or more. We
Excellent.
we have a really interesting and diverse group of ISPs. So um, uh, fiber, hybrid fiber, wireless,
Hmm.
diverse funding models, private expansion, private equity, local and state grant programs, and of course BEAD.
Right.
Uh, um, so there's a real diversity from tier one, believe it or not, through tier three. So the blend, I believe, is really outstanding in terms of the ISPs that I have participating. and I hope that this provides diverse opportunities for my hosted buyer sponsors as well.
Fantastic. So, if someone wanted to participate in the hosted buyer program that's watching this event, just reach out to you or go to the website, or how would we handle that?
So on the ISP side, one of my requirements is that they fill out an application. It doesn't take a lot of time to fill out the application, but it's one way to vet, for me to vet out the ISPs who are applying. In terms of sponsorship, this is structured in a way. So I should take a step back and tell you that the
Sure.
hosted buyers themselves, one of the requirements is your project must be within a 12-month window. Otherwise, you don't
Right.
you can't participate. So that means a meaningful opportunity. And I think the second important thing on that side of the fence is a decision maker must participate. So, and then on the sponsor side, what I've done is I've broken down the industry into segments, and you could probably guess for the most part what those segments might look like, but I'm only allowing 2 sponsors per segment.
Okay.
I want diversity, but I also want a little bit of exclusivity, and I don't want to overwhelm the hosted buyers with too many companies in one segment. So I'm trying to find balance. Now
Sure.
this is my first year doing it. I might make some changes going forward, but
Sure.
from my experience and research, this is probably the best way to construct this. So
And we were talking a little bit before we came on camera here, Jeff. This is a fairly unique, or at least new to the broadband industry, but other industry events have been doing hosted buyer type programs for years, right?
yeah, I think the big difference, the one thing I'm trying to accomplish is this is focused directly on ISPs.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't diving into other industries. This is solely an effort to help ISPs.
Let's talk a little bit about the logistics of the event, where it is. We know it's in Denver, but tell us a little bit about the venue, and because people go to these events to learn, maybe to buy things, but they also go to these events to have a good time. And so, talk a little bit about the setting and the environment that you're in at the Mountain Connect.
No, for the third year, we're going to be at the downtown Denver Sheridan Hotel. So that's right off of the 16th Street Mall, which is finally open after what 2-3 years of being under construction. So we're right on the cusp of as I said earlier, the 16th Street Mall. So there's plenty of things to see and do, for evening events and whatnot. So I'm pretty excited this year because I'm asking a lot of the hotel. One of the things I haven't talked about is the fact that I've redesigned the conference so that networking becomes part of the experience, and that not something that happens in between sessions as it normally does. And
Mm-hmm.
so here's what that means, and here's what's new for this year. Um, my exhibit hall layout is brand new, and I'm going to be curious to see how people react to this. But it's basically a Main Street, High Street exhibit hall model with food and beverage anchored on both ends. We have roundtable discussions. We have a brain date lounge. We have a hosted buyer lounge. We have a wellness lounge. And finally, we are incorporating AI matchmaking for all attendees this year. So it's my hope that people will leave the conference with more meaningful conversations and fewer business cards.
That's a great way to put it. More conversations, fewer business cards. As someone who has a pile of them on his desk that he has not yet processed yet from events earlier in the year, it's the people you talk to and you ask for a card, and sometimes it's just nothing ever really happens with it. So I love that approach. About how many exhibitors will you have this year? Do you have a number in?
Yeah, so I believe in quality over quantity. So I'm actually reducing the amount of exhibitors I have this year to 75.
Okay.
And I'm doing this because I want to create more vibrant activity. So from that Main Street exhibit hall construct, everything's within 30 steps of the Main Street. Food, breakout sessions, general session, ballroom, lounges. Um, you want to create more activity in a more confined space so that networking is more intentional.
And about how many attendees do you expect this year?
1,500 plus.
Okay, great, great.
Yeah,
That's continually grown too, hasn't it?
it has. I mean, if you go back to year one, we had 100. So it's grown quite a bit during that time. But, like I said earlier, uh, well, I didn't say this earlier, but one thing I would say is that getting ahead of myself, we, I don't, I'm not interested in having a big event. I'm not interested in having a giant exhibit hall. Uh, Again, I think once a conference gets, and this is just my opinion, but once a conference gets to be a certain size, I think you tend to lose networking quality dramatically as the conference gets larger. And I believe a little bit smaller is better.
Hmm.
So my event will never grow beyond, say, the 2,000 attendee mark. I would like to keep it below that and
Yeah.
really focus on the intentional strategic networking.
It is
Eh,
very
eh,
difficult at very large events just to find the right person or to find any person. Um, if let's meet out front of the ballroom. Well, there's six entrances to the ballroom, so which one are we at?
Right,
You almost
right.
have to have a logistical, roadmap in order to meet somebody for a coffee or a conversation.
Well, and
And
this is one reason why I'm doing the AI matchmaking.
hmm
And if I can get
yeah,
it
I'd like to
done,
learn a little bit more about that.
yeah, and if I can get it done, I would include AI content matchmaking. So effectively, when you come to the conference, you will download our app, and when you create your profile, you're going to be asked a series of interest-based questions, and then right before the start of the conference, and when you go into the app is going to show you a list of people who share similar interests that you should meet. Now, let's say, for example, that you chose three different areas, excuse me, of interest in terms of why you're going to the conference. You can actually, in real time, um, use filters and focus just on one interest and see your list change.
Hmm.
So I'm really trying to get people to connect with one another. And I think this AI matchmaking is one way of accomplishing that. I've got a couple other um, couple things that we're doing. Roundtables, we haven't discussed that.
Yeah.
I'm acquiescing some of my content on the agenda to focus on roundtables. So they will appear on the agenda 3 times during the conference. When they appear, the only thing else on the agenda will be networking. So no
Hmm.
other competing sessions. And the
Good.
intent around these roundtables is I have 21 industry topics, tables of 10, one facilitator, and 9 people.
Right.
And the facilitator's job is to facilitate a peer level conversation
Hmm.
with 9 people. It's an opportunity for the 10 people at that table to not only discuss a topic they have interest in or are passionate about, but also to meet like-minded people who are sitting around the table with them. So I'm hoping that that is another area that provides networking value for people as
I
well.
love that idea. I've actually integrated that in past C-band events, and I always get a lot of good feedback from that because it's not one person or a panel talking to people; it's everybody talking to each other, and that's where you learn. That's where good ideas get shared. That's where best practices get shared, and so. Have you developed which 21 topics you'll be covering at those?
I have. but
Okay,
that's a
great.
secret.
No, not gonna spill the beans on you, sir. Any robots
Uh,
this year? A couple of years ago, you had a robot.
yeah, I know. I'll get back to that probably next year. All these changes I've made this year have just absorbed all of my time. Um,
Sounds like it.
and I'm taking a lot of risks this year because I believe that culturally people don't like change, and what I'm doing is changing in some ways. And arguably I'm changing the way that telecom conferences flow and how they run. And so I'm really curious. I'll be very curious to get feedback, when it's over. What did I get right? What did I not get right? And
Right.
how do we improve it the next year? But I do think these changes are necessary.
Well, you're doing a great job. Like I said, I've been to several events in the past, and you always knock it out of the park. And I love how you're not resting on your laurels and working to make it even better. And the AI matchmaking thing, that's really sounds cool. I mean, that sounds like that's going to bear some fruit. I'm sure everybody will look at it differently because nope, some people just hate AI and some people love it. So, but the idea that you're using real intelligence to make help those conversations because they're so random. These
Right.
conversations can be so random at these events, and sometimes it's hit, sometimes it's missed. So this basically is improving the chances of people having better conversations by utilizing the technology that we're all out there promoting. So let's use it for our
Yeah.
own good.
Right. So just two things, if I could leave you with two things.
Yeah, absolutely.
This might sound odd to some people, but I'm actually also incorporating a change in food to help create memories for people. I won't tell you what I'm doing, but it'll be a surprise. But there's I believe we can create memories through the unique use of food. So without giving away the surprise, I would say that I'm using this year um, locally sourced and seasonal food on the menu. But I have a menu surprise for people that I hope they enjoy.
Ooh, I
And
love it.
then yeah, so one last thing I would say is I've been asked quite a bit, like what's the one thing that's really different about this year? And we've talked about many things that are different, but I would just leave you with this. We have shifted from delivering information and unstructured networking to creating outcomes. And
Mm,
that's really what's important this year. So the content matters, but we are investing just as heavily into who people meet, how they connect, and what happens after they leave.
fantastic. Well, all the information is right there on your website, and
Yep.
we encourage people to check it out, mountainconnect.org. Get registered. Is there a cutoff for registration for attendees, Jeff?
Are you new to the US, Curtis?
I am not.
No, no, all joking aside, no, there's not a cutoff for conference registration. As you know, a lot of times this comes in the last 4 to 6 weeks. So
Sure,
r-
sure.
right up until the conference starts.
Fantastic. Well, looking forward to it. And Jeff, thanks for taking some time out of your busy organizing day to talk a little bit about it so we can share it with our community and hopefully see lots of them in Denver as well.
Well, thank you, Curtis. I really appreciate you bringing me on again, and
Absolutely.
look forward to see you in Denver in August.
Absolutely. Our guest today, Jeff Gavlinski, he is the CEO of Mountain Connect, talking about the 2026 edition coming up August 10th through 12th in downtown Denver. Thank you all for joining us here on Broadband Action.